Welcome back to Majestic Mondays. And whoo, today we are talking about dating, emotional availability, mixed signals, confusion, and why so many people mistake emotional inconsistency for connection. Because I think a lot of people have normalized uncertainty in relationships to the point where chaos starts feeling romantic. The overthinking, the inconsistency, the hot and cold behavior, the delayed text, the emotional unavailability, the what are we energy. And somewhere along the way, people started calling that chemistry. And I really need us to stop doing that because confusion is not compatibility. Let me say that again, okay? Confusion is not compatibility. Someone making you anxious all the time is not automatically passion. Someone being emotionally inconsistent is not depth. Someone giving you the bare minimum with occasional affection is not emotional connection. And honestly, I think a lot of people are emotionally exhausted because they keep trying to emotionally decode people instead of simply observing them. One thing I've had to learn is that mixed signals are still signals. Inconsistency communicates something. Avoidance communicates something. Lack of effort communicates something. And I think sometimes people become so attached to potential that they ignore reality. They start dating who someone could be instead of who they consistently show themselves to be. And that creates suffering because now you're emotionally invested in a fantasy version of someone while continuously being hurt by the real version of them. And I know that can be hard to accept because sometimes there really is chemistry. Sometimes there really are feelings. Sometimes there really are moments where things feel good. But consistency matters. Clarity matters. Emotional safety matters because attraction alone cannot sustain a healthy relationship. And honestly, confusion can become emotionally addictive, especially if your nervous system is familiar with inconsistency, because unpredictability creates emotional highs and lows. You start craving the validation, the response, the attention, the reassurance. And when someone finally gives you affection after inconsistency, it feels intense. But intensity, instability are not the same thing. And I think a lot of people mistake emotional roller coasters for passion because calm love feels unfamiliar. Healthy love is not supposed to constantly activate your anxiety. Healthy communication is not supposed to leave you constantly overthinking. Healthy relationships should not feel like emotional detective work. And whoo, I know somebody needed that reminder. hmm There have definitely been moments where I stayed emotionally attached to situations that confused me longer than I should have. Not because I didn't see the red flags, but because I kept hoping consistency would eventually appear. I kept focusing on the potential, the good moments, the chemistry, the possibility. And I had to learn that potential is not the same thing as partnership. That lesson humbled me, like, honestly, because sometimes we hold on to people not because they're fully aligned, right? But because we're emotionally attached to the idea of what things could become. And I had to start asking myself, do I actually feel emotionally safe here? Do I feel valued consistently? Or am I constantly trying to earn clarity? This question changed a lot for me. I also think people stay in confusing dynamics because part of them is subconsciously trying to prove their worth. Like, if I love hard enough, if I'm patient enough, if I stay long enough, if I become more understanding, then maybe the other person will finally choose them fully. And honestly, that mindset will drain you because love should not feel like constant auditioning. You should not have to emotionally perform for basic consistency. You should not have to over explain your needs to someone committed to misunderstanding them. And this is where self worth becomes really important because self worth changes your tolerance level. When you truly believe you deserve clarity, you stop romanticizing confusion. Because peace is actually very attractive. One thing I realized is that peace is deeply attractive. Emotionally mature communication is attractive. Consistency is attractive. Feeling emotionally safe is attractive. And I think some people have been conditioned to believe healthy love is boring because it lacks chaos. But honestly, chaos is exhausting. Always wondering where you stand is exhausting. Over analyzing text is exhausting. Feeling emotionally unstable in a connection is exhausting. And I really think people deserve relationships where they can relax emotionally, not relationships that constantly activate survival mode. Now, let's talk about summer for a second because summer energy tends to make people romanticize emotionally unavailable people even harder. And we got to stop that because people get lonely. People want attention. People want excitement. People want connection. And suddenly standards start lowering. Like, why? People start entertaining situations they already know are confusing because they don't want to be alone. I did that before. And I really want us to move differently this summer, y'all. I want us to stop accepting breadcrumbs because we're craving connection. I want us to stop forcing emotional availability out of unavailable people. I want us to stop treating inconsistency like mystery because honestly, someone being emotionally clear with you is sexy. Oh my God. Someone communicating directly is fucking sexy. Someone making you feel emotionally sexy. Well, that too. But someone making you feel emotionally safe is sexy, y'all. Clarity is fucking attractive. It is so attractive. And you deserve clarity. You deserve relationships where you don't have to overthink constantly. You don't have to beg for consistency. You don't have to shrink your needs. You don't have to pretend confusion doesn't bother you. And I think sometimes healing looks like accepting that some people are simply not capable of giving you what you need consistently. That doesn't automatically make them evil, though, okay? But it does mean you need to stop abandoning yourself trying to force alignment that isn't naturally there. So, I know I went in. Now I want you to ask yourself honestly, okay? Am I emotionally attached to clarity or emotionally attached to potential? Do I actually feel peaceful in this connection or just emotionally stimulated? And what would happen if I stopped romanticizing confusion and started prioritizing consistency instead? Confusion is not chemistry. Anxiety is not intimacy. And inconsistency is not depth. You deserve relationships that feel grounding instead of destabilizing. You deserve clarity. You deserve reciprocity. You deserve emotional safety. And I really hope this summer you stop chasing people who make you question yourself and start choosing connections that allow you to feel calm, seen, and secure. Because peace, honey, peace looks really good on you. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to this week's episode. I really mean it. You deserve all the love, the clarity, the consistency, and the real chemistry and emotional availability. Do not settle anymore, okay? All right. Next week, we are talking about how I want y'all to go outside because your life is waiting, okay? Get yourself outside. All right, y'all. Until then, I will talk to y'all next week. Have a great week.